say, I'm not just saying it because I'm at a tribute dinner for him, but it is true to say that the work he did, both as Minister of Colleges and Universities and as Minister of Innovation, were responsible, including things like the free tuition program brought in by Trigger Wynn and by Reza Moridi. This is a vital thing that attracts these people. They're attracted by our talent and by our way of life, both of which we should remain committed to as people. And so I just want to say thank you to him, but more important than all of that is just this man as a person. I don't think I've met too many people in public life that demonstrated on a daily basis the decency and the civility and was such a proud representative of this wonderful community. And I think you know of the affection I've come to have for this community that he introduced me to. I've met some people before, but he introduced me to many more. And I just can't think of a person who I admire more that was in public life than Reza Moridi, and I hope he's going to find a way to continue to make a public contribution. It says, Mayor John Tory and members of Toronto City Council extend warmest congratulations and best wishes to Dr. Reza Moridi on all of your achievements during your exemplary career. You've been an accomplished engineer, physicist, member of provincial parliament, and minister. Your work as minister was key to the success we are now enjoying in attracting jobs, investment, and smart people to Toronto. As the first Iranian-Canadian elected official in Canada, you've paved the way for many Iranian-Canadian community members to become more politically aware and involved. Thank you for being a thoughtful leader, a dedicated public servant, a great friend, and above all, a decent person and a role model for all of us in public life, including me.
Reza Moridi is one of the finest, most decent men I have ever met in my life. He truly is. I met him as a candidate for the Liberal Party. He represented the riding of Richmond Hill that my parents live in, so we always got to have a Reza Moridi sign on my parents' lawn. He's a fine, accomplished man. He's an academic. But he chose to embark on a path of public service when he could have continued in his career in so many different directions. But he chose a path of public service because he believed so strongly in the importance of government to be a force of good in people's lives. And we saw that throughout all of his time at Queen's Park. I want to express my personal thanks, Reza, to you. Thank you for your guidance. Thank you for helping and guiding us as we formed government, as we made decisions. Thank you for the contributions that you have made to young people in this province, to all the young people who are starting businesses, who got grants because of the work that you did. They are the future, and you helped to foster that future. I also want to express my personal thanks to Reza and to Pari. Yes. Their resilience, their ability to be generous of spirit through everything that they have lived through, as families do, has been a gift to the people of Ontario. And so to Reza and Pari, thank you so very much. Merci.
Science and innovation landscape is like an ecosystem. A lot of ingredients, a lot of elements that all interrelated. In order to make sure that the ecosystem is healthy and growing, you need a comprehensive support for all these elements. And that's what Dr. Moridi did during his time as Minister and Parliamentary Assistant for Science and Innovation in Ontario. He ensured a stable and increased funding for scientific research throughout all the province for various institutes in different projects. And today, Ontario's output in scientific research is the top in the country. And Dr. Moridi supported and strengthened the linkages of Ontario science and innovation enterprises with the entire world, with various projects with different countries, including Japan, China, South Korea, Armenia, Israel, South Africa, and many others. But I would like to emphasize on 3 exceptional initiatives that are extremely important to my view and are very close to my heart. First, initiating the process to establish the first ever standalone French language university in Ontario, la toute première université francophone en Ontario. Second, the establishment of the position of chief scientist in Ontario in order to advise the Ontario government to develop better policies that are based on evidence and scientific knowledge. I sincerely hope that the office continue its work. And last, one single transformative reform, first time in Ontario, and to my knowledge, first in Canada. The modernization of student loan system by making university tuition free for low-income families in Ontario. And in my view, among the most transformative changes that we have had in post-secondary education, which has significant societal impact in Ontario. Young boys and girls of low-income families no longer have to abandon their dream because they cannot afford university education. And for all these, please join me in thanking Dr. Reza Moridi and his achievements and impact in Ontario science landscape.
Because not many people truly understand the time and energy it takes to be in political office. Serving as an MPP and having a ministerial portfolio to boot. Dr. Moridi's family had to sacrifice husband, father time for the greater good of the community. And being a politician is not a 9-to-5 job. Beyond meetings, committees, and debates in the legislature, Dr. Moridi would be serving his constituents, keenly listening to their concerns and wishes, not just in meetings in the office, but out in the streets and grocery stores and banks, at announcements, community and cultural events, banquets, ribbon cuttings, and among various groups and lobbyists. So thank you for choosing to support the Persian community in particular in cultural outreach on joyous occasions like Nowruz, having it proclaimed in emotion, and helping in tough times on questions of immigrations, refugees, and human rights. Dr. Moridi, as we all know, we've seen in the video as well, is a staunch advocate for democracy and human rights in Iran and could be seen at rallies, protests, film screenings, book launches, and important talks with various levels of government on the Iran file concerning women being treated as second-class citizens, the persecution of ethnic and religious minorities, those facing wrongful imprisonment or execution, as we already heard, Saeed Malikpour, the award-winning, the web designer and the award-winning human rights advocate in Iran, Nasrin Sotoudeh, and serving and echoing the larger hopes of the Iranian people for a free Iran, like we saw after the 2009 presidential elections, or more recently this year with all the protests in Iran. Dr. Moridi, you will be remembered for serving on the right side of history and not pandering to different groups, but instead with a strong, clear voice, having the courage to be vocal in admonishing the regime officials for corruption, violations of human rights, and stealing the souls of the Iranian people.
I'm honored to be with you tonight. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my deepest gratitude to Dr. Moridi for his service to the Iranian community. Please allow me to explain briefly why, as an Iranian American who lived in Europe, I am grateful to him. Since the clerical regime seized power in Iran 4 decades ago, between 5 to 6 million Iranians have been forced to leave their motherland and begin a new life in another country where they could live freely and build a better future for themselves and their children. Nearly half of them are living in the United States, in Canada, and in Europe, making a vibrant and successful Iranian community. And we are learning how to participate in political process in our new countries. But no matter how successful we are, or where we live, here in Europe, or like tens of thousands of Iranians trapped in the refugee camps or living under UN protection in third world countries, we feel strongly about our motherland, about our identity and our culture. As one of the leaders of our community, Dr. Moridi echoed the plight of Iranian people trapped in a prison that is Iran today. As a human rights advocate, He defended the rights of all Iranians and set an example for all of us. This is why we will always remain grateful to Dr. Moridi and his service to our community. Dear Dr. Moridi, thank you.
Good evening. I was asked to say a few words about Dr. Moridi's influence on the Iranian-Canadian community. And as I thought about how to do this, it occurred to me that there's an easy speech to give and a hard one. So let me explain. The easy speech to give is to list off all of Dr. Moridi's actual tangible services that directly or indirectly benefited our community. So I can point to the fact that he introduced the motion at Queen's Park proclaiming the first day of spring as Nowruz and introducing Nowruz celebrations at Queen's Park, which I know Kathleen Wynne, when she was premier, she attended quite frequently. I can point to his push for the recognition of an annual International Mother Languages Day, or the fact that, thanks to him, the written portion of the Ontario driver's test can now be done in Persian. I can point to his efforts to fundraise for victims of earthquakes in Iran, or his speeches in defense of the rights of Baha'is or political prisoners in Iran like Nasrin Sotoudeh. So all those things are true, and it would take a long time to list all the tangible ways in which he's helped us, but it could be done. But I think that would be the easy speech. The harder thing to do is to talk about that incredible, intangible thing that he did. And perhaps the best way of doing that is by telling you what he did for me. I came to this country in 1990 at the age of 10. And from a young age, I was deeply interested in politics. But there was a problem. The problem was that the politics of Canada were out of reach. Sure, politicians would let me volunteer on their campaigns, or they would let me take photos with them on occasion, but at the end of the day, I subtly understood, the way I think that a lot of us subtly understood, that Canadian politics had no meaningful role for someone with my background or with my unpronounceable name. And I subtly understood, I think we all subtly understood, that being really successful in politics in Canada wasn't for us. It was for guys with Anglo or Quebecois last names who looked a certain way and came from certain privileged backgrounds. And I believed that. And I think a lot of us believe that. That's until Reza Moridi came along. What Reza Moridi did in 2007 wasn't just to win a seat in provincial parliament. And what he did subsequently wasn't to gain a seat around the cabinet table based on his merit and his political acumen. What he did was to communicate to me, to you, and to those young people in our community who dream of having a seat at the decision-making tables in governments and in boardrooms, that it can be done. Dr. Moridi, you opened the door. You showed us that it could be done. And you did it with grace, you did it with humility, you did it in a way that allowed all of us that belong to the Iranian community to hold our heads up a little bit higher with pride. So even if some of them don't thank you themselves, on behalf of those Canadian MPs, I thank you. On behalf of those MPPs, I thank you. On behalf of those municipal candidates, I thank you. On behalf of our entire community, I thank you. And on behalf of my 10-year-old self, I thank you. Thank you for being a pioneer. Thank you for showing me that it can be done. Thank you very much.
It has been a great privilege and honor to be able to serve the people of Richmond Hill at the Ontario Parliament for over a decade, and the Ontarians at the cabinet of Premier Wynne for almost 6 years. I want to begin by thanking each and every one of you for being here this evening. Your continuous support and encouragement for more than 10 years have been the source of energy, inspiration, and enthusiasm for me in my journey in public service. I am truly humbled by your kindness and graciousness. Some of you may know that my family and I arrived at Pearson Airport midnight on February 9th, 1990 with only 4 suitcases. Canada accepted me and my family with open and warm arms. And this evening, here I am. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my story, and I am certain that it is also the story of many of you in this room. We are absolutely blessed to be Canadians and living in this paradise. And for that, we all owe a lot to our country, Canada. My friends, we can only pay our dues to our wonderful country, Canada, by serving this wonderful land with our hard work, dedication, and selfless community work and public service. I tried my best in almost past 3 decades, and I will continue to serve my country, Canada, for the rest of my life. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.